Good morning and welcome to Soulbirth here on Edge Radio Australia. Absolute pleasure as all the lights over here just boom, boom, boom. It's going off like a Christmas tree. And why it must be the excitement of having faces in.
Oh, must be.
Must
course,
be.
Yeah.
It's got to be that, right? It's got to be that. All right. Well, I click away. How about, we could do the pleasantries here or we could jump straight into the show. What do you think?
Well, it's up to you. I was just going to say the brightness could also be the reflection of your shirt there.
It could be. This is one of my very shy ones, right?
Shy ones.
It's very, very shy indeed. You know, I
nice
like to
bright
coordinate.
yellow to wake me up in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Take what you can get around here. We're just talking about the level of energy around at the moment. And I've been really, really tired and everyone's talking about tired. So we need to lift the energy. And if maybe a shirt does it, who knows?
It did for me.
I'm concerned about that, but never mind. Oh dear. All right. Well, we're going to jump into things anyway. Now, what is today's subject?
So, Aaron, today, actually, it's really on point for what we were just saying, because today we're going to dive into a conversation that is like, it sits at the heart of like quantum awareness.
Whoa, we're going that level already. Okay.
Exactly. And conscious creation.
Okay. Did I mention I'm tired? I mean, that's a big subject. I don't know.
Exactly. So what your thoughts are, remember, that you reflect
yeah,
how you're
true.
So
good point.
Where your thoughts go, energy flows. So
that's almost a bumper sticker.
It is.
I know it's
probably is actually. So we're talking today about the unified field of expansion.
Okay, please explain, because I'm way out of my pay depth here, right?
Well, really. I thought it was about time that you might be ready for this kind of conversation.
Well, I'm so tired. I've combined pay grade with out of my depth. It's now my pay depth.
I picked the right day to talk about this conversation, and it kind of ties in together everything that we've already talked about in the past. Cool. Anyway, it's just kind of the thread that holds it all together.
Good job. Well, we've talked about a lot of things, a lot of really good subjects. And when you go back and I always encourage people go back through the old back catalogue, as it were. Watch old shows from go onto YouTube, do the old YouTubey thing, like, subscribe, and all those goodies, because there's some great stuff. I'll tell you right now, we've had some amazing conversations.
We have.
Yeah. So
I've enjoyed every one of them.
She lies.
I'm
teasing you. I'm kidding you. All right. So how are we going to tie them in today? How's it going to work?
Well, I thought we'll talk about, I'd like to introduce, because I'm sure the big question from you is like, what even is this subject I'm talking about?
I'm completely lost. I have not done any research whatsoever. So there you go.
The best way to be. Hey, so as the viewers, this is so hopefully at the end of it, you'll have some more tools that you can use to actually make things a bit better for your life.
I love that saying. Obviously, car guy tools. Okay, I'm going to be happy when you talk about tools.
Tools, yes.
And I do judge people on the quality of their tools. Okay, as simple as that. I really do. The moment I see that came up, rubbish come out. No, we're not going to work on the car.
Well, it's all quality here.
It's all quality here.
Yes.
But I do think the term is a winner because of the fact of so many things. But as far as tools goes. Yeah. Okay, whether it be tools for your relationships, whether it's tools for what you're doing in work, what you're doing in your private life, your social life, your sporting life, whatever. The quality of your tools means everything. Exactly. And when we're talking about our mind and our body and our soul, damn, it's going to be easy with the right tools, right?
Oh, it sure is, and it all comes down to clarity and awareness as well. Because what you're not aware of, then you can't really pull the tools out to use, can you? Because you just don't know. So what you don't know, you don't know.
It's the most blatant statement that means so much. Like, I was thinking about this today, and I don't want to digress and go off too far, but I was actually,
why not?
Because that's what I do, right? But I was having this thought today because I got up and I was grumpy. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, really? I was tired and grumpy. I got a headache. I was full. Remember the Grouch from Sesame Street? Okay, that's exactly how I was feeling. Okay, that colour. And I thought,
dear.
Yeah. But then I actually thought about myself, and I thought about how, I know this sounds ridiculous, but I literally thought about, gee, I've grown as a person, right? Because as I was going through things, I thought, okay, I've got this adversity, I've got this other bit of adversity going on at the same time. And I think to myself, well, 20 years ago, how would I have dealt with this? 5 years ago, how would I have dealt with this? And guess what? Like, with the tools of talking to the right people, getting the right ideas, getting the right mindset, you can, Oscar can get out of the can. Is what I'm saying.
He can. Yeah. That's right. So all these tools are wonderful, and it must have worked because you don't seem grumpy to me.
No, I'm far less grumpy than I was. I'm actually pretty happy. It's just it's mindset.
It is totally, and that is exactly what today is about.
Look at that. I
Yeah,
nailed
look
it.
at that. You're so good, aren't you? You're really picking up on this stuff.
Oh, it's rubbing off. Yeah.
It is. That's great. So, what is the unified field of expansion?
That's a big term. What is it?
It is. It's actually, would you believe it's actually a matrix?
Oh,
Which matrix are we in?
Okay.
Oh, and here's the sirens. I can hear sirens outside.
Yes.
When you mentioned matrix, oh my gosh.
They're onto you. So I've seen the movie. Come on, watch it. Yeah.
I've seen it several times. I love it.
It's a great movie.
It's
Absolutely
a great movie.
fantastic
You know,
movie.
which pill are we going to take?
Well,
So-
yeah. Well, very red pilled right here. Let me tell you.
So anyway, this is the right matrix. This is the matrix that ties together like energy and intelligence,
Okay.
and it's the thread that holds everything together. So everything that we are and everything that we think, everything, you know, our beingness is actually all tied in with this unified field
Our
of expansion.
beingness.
Our beingness, because we are human beings, not human
You
doings.
sure you didn't just invent that term?
No.
Beingness. Okay.
And
I've
if I
never
did,
heard
who
it
cares
before.
if I
Who
did? Because it's
cares?
a pretty good term.
Add it to the Oxford. Away we go.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. No, I mean that's so true. Go on further because it's quite a long term. Okay, I want to make sure I've got my head around it.
Yeah. So the unified field is where everything is held. It's this like creative, you know, pool of potential.
Okay.
So human potential, like as humans, because we chose to incarnate as humans,
Yep.
like it's like we have this human potential, and consciousness is all about expansion. So always wanting to grow and evolve and expand and, you know, keep going. So there's no end to it. So the universe, like, has anybody ever found the end of the universe?
I've looked. It's not there.
It's
It's there somewhere, I'm sure, but I don't know. But yeah, no one has.
there is no end because
So-
it keeps expanding.
Hang on. So you've got this great cup, if you like, of life and energy,
Mhm.
and there's no edge. There's no. Well,
No,
there's,
there's always the
There's
edge.
always the
Yeah.
edge. This is where we live. But there's no end to it. Okay, we're not going to walk off
Well,
one
who
day.
knows?
We're not
Who's
going to
ever
run out of
found
it. That's a great point.
Because as soon as we look for it, it keeps expanding because this is our creative potential. It's forever expanding and trying to find something more beyond what we already know. So we're
Feels like
constantly-
my waistline. Okay, got it.
Oh dear.
Just when you've hit the limit, you find a little bit more, right?
You do indeed. So as humans, like we're always curious and always wanting to learn more. So, you know, this unified field of expansion is actually, we're living in it.
That is such a good point. And okay, why? And I don't expect you can answer this. This is sort of one of those questions. But why are some of us just far more curious than others? Like, why do some of us have that curiosity about that expansion, about what's there, about what's beyond what's there? Isn't it interesting that some of us want that and we're always hungry for it, whereas others just are quite, I'll settle with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think life would be easier to just not know and not be curious and just to stay in your own little bubble and exist. But I'd last one day if that.
I know people like that. I mean, I know
Yeah.
not several people. I was going to say plenty. That's not fair. I think I know several people who live in that bubble and they just, that's their world, nothing else. And they don't want to know anymore. And like, yes, you're right. Like, okay, that ignorance is bliss for them. It's not bliss for the rest of us trying to explain anything to them.
No.
But to me, what a way to live. I think the most important word in the English language is why.
Yeah.
I think you have to be asking questions.
Well,
right?
kids ask that a lot, don't
Yes,
they?
they do. Yeah,
Anybody,
they do.
any parent that's had their kids in the back seat of the car or anywhere, it's always why? But why, mummy? But why?
Not Delilah.
But it's great because that's the curiousness and that's how we learn and expand our consciousness and our awareness of the world around us.
Okay, and we're just going to forever keep expanding. Is that what you're saying? The old consciousness?
I guess so, because that's the nature that we are. Our very nature is expansion.
Yep.
Because everything expands. Even just when you look in nature, like with flowers blooming, that's expansion.
Yeah.
A baby in the womb, it's always stretching, trying to expand and feel out, the atmosphere around it or the environment, trying to feel what's around it. And we're always, trying to feel more out into the world and, what's in the world.
It's so true.
Yeah, we always want to have new experiences.
On that front, again, sort of note here, but I was watching a video the other day by a very, I won't go into the subject too much because it's a heavy subject, but there's a excellent public speaker out there, advocate, a Dr. Joe or Dr. Joanne, or Joanna, whatever, anyway, who does a lot about babies and their right to life and all of that sort of thing. So whatever your opinion is on that, go for it, right? I certainly know mine. But what I'm going to get at is she was showing some videos about the different stages of life and the expansion, and the baby moving in the womb, and just like the baby was doing such amazing things
Mhm.
so early.
Yeah.
Like, like this whole story of, it's a bunch of cells. No. I'm telling you right now, my word. Like, you
Mhm.
see what it's up to.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just so
It
cool.
is. Discovering itself in the womb as
Yeah.
it grows. It's always, sucking its fingers and feeling the world around it, pulling on its cord.
Yep.
all those things.
I actually saw my eldest son. He was changing gears. Okay. Yeah.
Of course he was.
Drive. He was doing his thing.
Just like, and I'm sure you were too when you're in the womb.
Oh,
You were
absolutely.
racing. You're at the start gate waiting. You didn't even give your mum a chance to.
Not a chance.
She only just got in the door and vroom, out you came.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Exactly.
That's an accurate, description. Beautiful. Bang on.
Exactly. And babies, even once they're out in the world, then they're always stretching. As soon as if you so many people like to wrap them really tightly, swaddle the baby.
Yep.
They sleep a lot more soundly because it's very womb-like, I guess, from
Makes
full
sense.
term. However, once you unravel them, babies naturally just start to stretch out.
Yeah. I want to see a baby doing the YMCA, get those arms and legs going.
Exactly.
And
then when they're crawling as well, you can't stop them. They're always trying to, and even when they can't crawl, they're trying to grab for everything that's out of their reach.
It's such a beautiful time. It really is. And when your baby starts to crawl, I mean, apart from the fact that you now you realise everywhere that everything is a hazard, right? Okay. I mean, I used to joke about the fact that if I knew what I know now, like what I would have done when I built my house, I would have put a shelf all the way around every single wall around the entire house at about 3 foot, right? So that for all the things you need to put on there, because when you've got a baby crawling and then they become a toddler and they start walking, they find it and they get into everything. But that's them expanding their mind.
It is, totally, and their world around them. And then once they get to a toddler, you'd have to actually shift all those shelves up to 5 foot tall, because then they can reach the 3 foot tall ones.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is, their world is gradually expanding more and more and more as they grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's the same
why
with
stop?
us. Exactly. And as adults, once you become older and you start traveling more, we want to explore the world around us, don't we? So we start traveling.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're always expanding and looking for new opportunities, new experiences.
So true. All right. Well, you've given this big long title that I can't even remember. I just remember it was impressive. Again, like in your everyday life, I always like to refer things to everyday life, because I think that,
exactly.
Let's be practical about things.
Yep.
So if you really want to expand yourself and your mind and your soul in your everyday life, can you give me a couple of tips?
Oh, I could.
You could, but I won't.
No, well, I mean, it's happening anyway, whether you, whether you try to do anything or not, it is always expanding.
That's
just because of our natural, the very nature of us as humans, it is. And when you look at, your intuition and synchronicity, so, when we start thinking of somebody and then that person rings up,
it's weird, isn't it?
It's weird. You go, hang on a minute, how did that happen? You haven't thought about them for months, and then you suddenly think of them, and next thing, 5 seconds later, they're calling you.
Happens all the time.
That's bizarre, actually. But that's because they're in the flow. They're in this unified field, and it's like the other person picks up the thought form, and then they think of you at the same time. So that's what it's all about. It's this unified field that we all exist in, and it's about whether you're actually in flow with that, connected to it, or whether you're plugged out of it.
And okay, I used to think all of that was just woohoo rubbish. I really did. I'd say, okay, it's just good old fashioned coincidence. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. My little personal experiment on that to see how well that works is the thing at the traffic lights. Right? If I'm pulled up at the traffic lights and I see somebody over there or whatever, like miles away, that they're looking nowhere, they're nowhere near me. Right? There's I don't know them. There's no whatever. But anyway, what I do is I make a little bit of connection and I kind of look at them, or even look at them through the corner of my eye, right? And guess what? They always stop and they always look at you.
See that?
Right? Yeah. Like, no, well, I don't know. If
I'm the same.
It's an energy shift.
You feel it because you feel somebody looking at you.
Yeah.
And that is that, it's energy.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, I'm hiding behind the old Wayfarers. The sunglasses are on, right? So they can't see my eyes. Okay. But I just think, that is my personal experiment. To teach myself that the world is there's more degrees that I can't see.
There you go. I love that too, because that's exactly how when I've been talking about feng shui and geomancy, all the hidden energies, the unseen energies.
Yeah.
So when we're clearing ley lines, well, ley lines, they're invisible lines that are thought forms that are put down.
I don't know what a ley line is.
Don't you? Oh,
no.
Have you ever heard of ley lines?
I know Layla from Eric Clapton. That's about it. No.
Ley lines are invisible lines that cross the earth, but they're usually from thought patterns of people.
Never heard that before in my life.
Well, you've heard about the indigenous tribes that go walkabout.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they follow ley lines. They're the ancient
I
thought
did
forms
not
from
know
their
that.
ancestors where they've followed the patterns to go hunting. They know where
Right.
the food is. They know where the water is, so they follow the ley lines of their ancestors.
No GPS?
No, that's right.
No?
It's their internal GPS because
Okay.
they're in the flow of the energy. Most of the indigenous cultures are very in this unified field. That's how they exist because they're nomadic. And to be nomadic, you're actually tapped into this unified field of existence.
I've never heard that term before. I mean, I get the whole principle, but ley lines, hey? Okay.
Yeah. And then you can have negative ley lines, which, when I do my energy clearances, I'm always clearing negative ley lines from people's houses because, and just as an example, doesn't always happen, but if you don't like your neighbour and you're always, or the neighbour doesn't like you and they're always sending negative thoughts to you, over time the negative thoughts actually build up a ley line, a negative ley line. And so then when you're in that field or the line, getting attacked physically, kind of energetically by these ley lines,
sure,
you feel it, you pick it up and you feel like, you might start getting angry or feeling, out of balance or something, and then you get the feelings from the neighbour or whoever it is, and it actually affects you. So unless you clear those energies, then you keep getting bombarded by them, depending on where they flow through your property.
Property-wise, I once was very conscious about ley lines without even knowing. I laid a line. It's called an electric fence. Solves the neighbour problem.
Oh, jeez. Well, there you go. There's always another way.
There's always another way. Practical sort of everyday ways you can fix these things.
But, it is so true because when we are part of this one unified field, then, our thoughts do actually affect others.
Of course.
And this is how, we can affect the field and then the field can affect us in return. Okay. And so it's being in alignment with it and actually putting out positive thoughts into the field and also drawing in the things that we want. This is how the manifestation stuff works too, because, when you put the thought out there, and it's like finding a car park, if you're driving to work and you want, I need to park my car and I want it right out the front so I don't have to walk so far, blah, 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 and you visualize it and you put it out in the field. And how many times do you come up to that point and a car pulls out just as you're coming up to it and it creates a parking spot for you?
Not often enough, but yes, it does happen. Yeah, but no, I'm with you.
Yeah, because every time I've focused on that, it always seems to happen.
Oh, okay. I'll go parking with you. You should become an Uber driver. You'll make a fortune. You'll be right. There you go. I mean, but that's manifesting, right?
It
okay,
is.
that's and I sort of struggle a little bit about that because, like I see, a lot of people use vision boards, things like that. And they do that to manifest their future or their dreams.
But it depends on how you use it, see, because it can be wishful thinking. So if you're just putting it out there, wishful thinking, hoping to draw something to you, but you're not actually aligning yourself with the field, then you're not drawing it in.
Okay.
So it's about becoming one with the unified field. The consciousness. So you've actually got to actually see it and feel it around you, like it's an actual feeling state that you get into.
And does the feeling state make you move to the next state, which is action?
Well, it can do, and action always helps as well. But so many times we can, as long as you're being in flow with this unified state, then things just flow. And I like to bring this to birth, as I do. You like race cars, I like birth.
We've all got our thing.
Exactly, and my show is about birth anyway. Right. So when we can tap into the unified field of expansion during birth, then this is why women having beautiful births that just flow. I know from myself, from my own experiences, when you get into that state, and a lot of women use hypnobirthing as a tool to tap into that unified field. And when we're in that field, then everything just flows. Like you let go of all the fears, because all the fears and the trauma out there that the system puts on you puts you into contraction. And when you contract, you can't be in the flow state.
Even the term contraction, can we come up with a better term?
Exactly.
Like really?
And this is, one of the terminologies that's used in birth as well, having contractions of the uterus, so it makes it a negative connotation, like it's contraction, it's fear, it's tense and whatever. But in hypnobirthing, you talk about waves, because it's surges and waves. So the uterus is actually, doing its job, and it's actually to help the baby to be born. So it's a surge.
It's a surge.
So just think of riding the wave instead.
Okay. Yeah, hang 10, away we go.
Exactly.
I mean, what you've said, though, is I think it's unbelievably important because as far as childbirth, on that front, because I'd never thought about it before. Why would I, right? Because, you listen to what the doctors say, the nurses say, you get into all of that. But the thing is, right, if you actually have taught me over, many shows about the fact that the relaxation techniques will open your body and make childbirth easier,
Yeah,
right?
so much.
Whereas so many things are actually working against you, literally the position you're laying, like from a physical kind of sense, some of the medication, some of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you take it in a far more natural tone
absolutely.
and let the body do what it's designed to do?
Absolutely. God, you could be a really good doula, I reckon.
Really?
Been training you as a doula.
Okay. I need a side gig, so there we go. Might work for me. I can do that about the 2 hours a day that I'm sleeping. That'll work. Yeah, I'll sink that in.
Oh, well, doulas and midwives don't sleep much either.
No, I can imagine. Oh, it could be perfect
on
for
call
me.
for birth. Yeah, you could be. See, you used to know.
I've got a new gig. I love it.
No, but it just works beautifully with birth once you can tap into this field, because you push out all the fears that are around you that bombarding you all the time, because that is the actual birthing kind of system out there at the moment. The way that people view birth is very much a fear and trauma based idea, which is why I'm so passionate about educating people about the other.
And you did a wonderful job. You really, really do. Like, honestly, I mean, if I was having a baby, knowing what I know now, the first thing I do, I'd be calling you. I'd be hiring you. I need you on the gig, yeah, for sure. Because what I've seen before, I've experienced it from obviously not the physical side, but the other side being the husband, right, is experiencing it. And it's almost like you just go into the room and they just pour this big bucket of trauma on you, right? Yeah, everything's hurried, everything's stressful, everything's an issue, everything's a medical drama, effectively. Well, it's not. I don't know what it's not a Chicago Hope or what. I don't even know. I'm trying to name medical drama shows. I don't even know what I'm watching. Grey's Anatomy. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. Whatever.
There you go.
I never watch them.
Yeah, well, not twice. I think that's why I can't remember.
Too much drama. So he needs to buy into that drama. You don't need to put on the TV and watch drama.
You don't.
I know drama sells, but in real life, for birth, we don't want drama.
Let's chill out.
Push the drama away. We don't want to take on all the negative, over dramatized and traumatic, stories that people like to bombard you with, because it takes you out of this beautiful unified state and into the drama you go into contraction and the fear.
Yep.
And it stops you from being in the flow. So it's really important.
Having a baby is, in my opinion, without any doubt, the most beautiful experience, right?
It
is the greatest.
Should be.
It should be. Yeah. And it doesn't. I don't want to be all negative towards the healthcare system and the hospitals, because there's some really good people in there.
Oh, there
right?
are, absolutely.
It's certainly not about the people. It's like anything. When you're in a system, you're in a system.
Yeah,
and the system will dictate how things roll, right?
Exactly.
But okay, this is the most beautiful sacred event of your life. Okay, forget about wedding days and rubbish like that. Okay,
rubbish like that.
Well, it is like I've seen people who just who with a wedding day will just fuss and freak out about a bombinary, okay, or the most ridiculous little detail things, and they let things like that bother them and upset them. But when you look at getting married is great, whatever. It's a nice day. It's a good excuse for a party, whatever. But having a child is the most beautiful and most sacred event you can have, in my opinion.
Well, I believe that.
Why wouldn't you make it the greatest experience you possibly can?
And be in flow? But it's with everything, like whether it's work or life, getting married, having a baby, whatever. It's all about how you show up for it, because it's our choice. We are born with our
free will.
That's the one. Thank you.
That's cool.
So we can choose to have a negative or traumatic experience if we want, or we can actually choose to make it beautiful and relax and surrender with the process and actually make it beautiful.
Yep.
So we always have choice. So even if you're birthing in a hospital, you can actually change the experience and make it what you want it. You don't have to say yes to what's on offer. You can actually decide, okay, how do I want my birth to be? And then you can create that experience no matter where you're birthing. And that's why I'm always saying how it's so important about who you choose as your care provider. And, even within a system where you've kind of dictated who's going to be there, but you can always bring your own little unit in and you can empower yourself and create the space that you want. You don't have to have the space the way it's presented to you. You can change everything around.
So, such a good point. So true. I mean, I was very lucky with one of my beautiful kids is that I was actually able to choose a midwife because she became a personal friend before and booked us in and got everything going. And geez, what a different experience. Really just the flow of it, it was just wonderful. So just having someone there, you trust, and also didn't bring the drama.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's really important too for all birth professionals, whether you're a midwife or a doula or a doctor or lactation consultant, anybody that has anything to do with birth, even grandparents that are showing up at birth, anybody that they really need to check in with themselves and see, what their state of flow is. Like, are they actually here carrying their fears and traumas that they've experienced, or are they coming fully showing up for the woman and being fully present in the moment and in the flow in this unified field? Because it really makes a difference to the birth outcomes about how everybody in the room shows up.
It's a great point. Okay, what can you do if you do show up there? Say you're a support person and you've got incredible stresses and pressures coming from other directions. How do you sort of wash yourself of that before you enter the room?
Well, you need to do like a physical check-in, and like it's really easy to do it. It's just being present and aware. But before anybody enters the room, they should actually pause. So, we talked about the sacred pause.
Stop, collaborate, and
exactly.
listen. Right?
Stand at the door, and which I quite often say to women that even if you're not hypnobirthing, put a sign on the door saying, something about, sacred birth in process. Just pause or whatever you want to do, just to make people mindful that they're about to enter a sacred space. So take a breath, take a pause, and just check in on yourself before you enter that door. Be fully aware that the woman is in her birthing space, and it's sacred. It is so sacred. And whatever you do not take your traumas and drama into the room. Take a breath, release them. Just visualize yourself releasing everything. I love the analogy of the worry tree. Have you heard of that?
No, let's go with the tree.
You can use it at your home where you have a visionary or imaginary tree at the front door, and you call it the worry tree, where before you enter the house after work, you just hang all your worries on the tree, and you can leave them there overnight. You can leave them for good if you want, but the idea is that you take them and you leave them somewhere before you enter the building, so you're not bringing the day with you. So it's the same at the birthing space. Before you enter the birthing space, just take away all those worries, any traumas or stresses that you've got, and just leave them outside the door.
It's a really great point. I mean, I've never thought about the tree idea, but look, I remember when one of my children was being born, and the mother-in-law just came bursting through the door, like, it's all about me, it's all about me, it's all about me kind of routine. Exactly. And the shift in energy was like, oh.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. Yeah, and it totally disrupts the energy.
It really did. It really, really did.
And just to be aware of the impact that does actually have, because that's a lot, how this field actually operates too, is that if you have somebody that just suddenly bursts in like that with a totally disruptive kind of energy, it shatters the beautiful, peaceful space that you've created, and it takes a lot to get back into that.
I actually think it slowed the labour down.
Oh, it would, because what's happened is the woman that might have been in her beautiful space gets shattered and pulled straight out of it, and then it's so hard to get back into it, because once you come out of it, you become aware of all the outside noise.
Okay.
Whereas when you're in your own little bubble,
makes sense.
Birthing, like everything is like, it's quiet, it's and you're focused 100% on what's going on in your body, like you're very internal. Whereas when you're pulled out of it, suddenly it's like, oh, what's out here? Oh, there's this person and that person you weren't even aware of.
Yep.
And then suddenly you become aware of all the equipment in the room, and you become aware of the lights, and you become aware of everything, the noise.
Wow. I mean, I'm going back a long way here, but I remember that. And it was almost like you put a pause on the entire it just changed the vibe. It became all of a sudden extremely it lost its personal element.
Yeah, right.
It became more of a medical event, than it was before.
And so suddenly you trigger all the adrenaline release.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that.
That's what I was thinking myself.
The fight-flight response. So suddenly with shattering, you suddenly go, adrenaline kicks in, and you go, and so it stops labour, which is why, even that word labour, but the birth process, the birth process.
Well, that word's burnt into your brain, because that's the term they've been using forever.
It is.
It's a terrible word.
It is a terrible
word.
I
mean, it's a terrible political party, but it's just even worse when it comes to birth, right?
Exactly. Because, labour, you want to change that wording around, because labour, just you think hard work, where and a lot of women do identify in that way. But if you can actually think that no, it's not hard work, this is a beautiful event, this is a sacred event that's taking place, and I'm in the flow, and it's just beautiful, and it's unfolding, because it's that forever expansion, the unfolding,
the expansion,
and that's what you want. You don't want the contraction, you want the expansion, because as we drop into that field and we expand, then the uterus opens up. Oh, no, sorry, the cervix opens up. the uterus does its job. The baby flows out, can come out with grace and ease. Like, I've had beautiful births where, I don't class them as painful. I just think they're sensations. Of course, we have sensations in our body, but how you identify with that sensation is makes a big difference as to how you experience the birth. And so when you're in this flow state and you're actually working with your body and your baby, you actually feel it more as an expansion, because you can feel your body opening and doing its thing, what it's meant to do, and you can feel the baby making its way down.
Well, you've used the word flow many times, and I think that's an important word on this one. Because, when things are stop-start, and they do tend to, it kind of feels, again, look, I'm not having a baby, I don't know physically from that point of view, but there seems to be, with the contractions, almost like a stop-start kind of thing. So, it's almost like on the car trying to get it fired up, and eventually it fires after how many tries. But every single time is a new sort of effort at it. Whereas if you consider it flow, it's a whole different process, and I would tend to think it would flow on nicely, and you would have less resistance to it.
Because resistance, that's the word. See, because when we resist it, then we do get the stop start.
Makes sense.
Because it is contracting and expanding, expanding. Whereas when you're in the flow state, it's just one kind of process, and you're just going with it, and you just breathe through it.
Well, I don't know if I could breathe through it. I'd be screaming.
Oh, no, because you would have, because I would tell you how to breathe.
Oh, there you go. So there we go. It's all of a sudden become the movie Twins with, Schwarzenegger. But you're so right on all of these things, and I love the fact that you're very much focused on getting the right people in there. That makes a big difference. The people who are going to make this a sacred event are going to make this, just pleasant was the wrong word. But it should be something that you remember in a really positive way.
That's right. Being an empowered birth experience, where you felt like you were in control of it. Or, sorry, control is a bad word, because it's not a control thing. It's about you allowed your body to do its thing, and it naturally flowed. But this is why it's so important that whoever shows up at the birth is actually already in that state as well, and that they are well able to hold that space. And so, which is why, again, like we were talking a couple of weeks ago with Jacqueline here about, conscious birth. And also, we've got this upcoming talk. It's only this Thursday night too.
Thursday night,
so a reminder too to anybody that's listening is that we've got a Zoom call with Nikita Stark, who's from the UK. And she's got the When Push Comes to Shove. And so she's doing a free Zoom call on Thursday night.
What time is
7:30 p.m. Perth time. And actually I'll pass on the link to put underneath recording here for people that want to register for it. But it's all for anybody who ever shows up at birth, whether you're a grandmother or whether you're a doula or a midwife or a doctor, anybody at all that has anything to do with birth or wants to. I really advise you to jump on that call, because it talks about all of this and how to actually, move through your own traumas or ideas of birth, and actually to process them so that you can actually be in this constant state of unified field, and help to hold the woman in her sacred space without bringing your trauma.
Okay. It'd be nice if you actually did that in not just at childbirth, through the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
how
always
you show up in life. And that's perfect, because that is our state of being. And if we can actually practice this and be in this state more often, we can be more attuned to people like your partner, to your child, anybody that you actually want to actually harmoniously live with. Then, when you can actually master the art of being in this unified state or field of expansion. And so that can come by just practicing a lot of, presence. Yeah.
Well, actually listening to people. Try that. Give that a bit of a go.
It's that pause, isn't it? That pause and listening.
Yeah. Oh, it made a big difference in my life. Yeah. Not actually listening to people saying,
not listening to people.
Well, not listening to people. So often when people are speaking, you're preparing an answer. You're not listening. And then when in my mind, and I still catch myself doing it. I still, from time to time, someone talking and I'm going, okay, I'm putting together my reply. No. If you really want to align with people, if you really want to understand and listen to them and have a great relationship, listen, take it in.
Exactly.
And then, okay, you know what? Be Elon Musk. Stop. Pause for a minute before you make your reply, right? But that pause time is very important, just to go, okay, I've taken it in, then I'll reply.
Absolutely. And, the other thing that happens when you do that, when you're actively listening is that because there's more to communication than just the words.
Damn straight.
So you're not just hearing the words, but you're picking up on the energy, and that's part of this unified field. Is because when you're actually in the same space and you're sharing the energy, you're picking up on all the other cues and the energy behind the words, because there's so much is conveyed through the energy of the words that are spoken. So it's not just what you say and listening to the words, it's actually getting the whole piece of the communication by being in that.
Well, let's look at that. How often, when you're sending texts back and forward between two people, how often does it go wrong?
Oh, yeah,
right?
because you can't understand the energy behind what's being said, and it's misconstrued.
Yeah, you can't see the hands flying everywhere like you're Italian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can't see all of that. You can't see the facial expressions. You can't feel the energy, right?
Or hear the tone.
Spot on.
Yeah.
So things get really misconstrued, and you can cause all sorts of arguments. And that's a great example of that. Whereas if you're actually literally, taking that in, absorbing the energy, and you're open to it, then you actually genuinely hear the person you're speaking to.
The art of communication.
Yeah.
And because that works too, if you are speaking with someone who doesn't speak the same language, you can quite often understand what they're saying, even though you don't understand the words, because it's body language and all the nuances and the tone, everything there. You can pick up a thread of what they mean.
Okay, stupid example, but I'm going to give it a crack. Talking to your cat or your dog, right? Okay, I'm quite confident that my cat does not speak, English to the same level as I do. Probably a good thing, right? But the tone, okay, when you speak to an animal, right, the tone is absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I walk up to a dog in the street and then I start saying hello and talking to the dog. The dog knows straight away, oh, yeah, he's a cool dude, but, we're safe and all kind of carry on. It's not, there's no aggression. Good old-fashioned tone.
Exactly, yeah. And your presence as well,
the energy
which is, all of nature, all of, every living thing is part of this unified field of expansion. And so, that's why we can communicate with animals and plants, the plant kingdom too. If you sit and just be absorbed in this field that they share, you can pick up all the communication between all of these, because plants actually communicate as well.
That's
another whole show, but no, I've got a lot to say about that.
I bet you
I've got a lot to say about a lot of things, but that's another whole show.
Can't keep it quiet. Oh, yep.
Actually, it's funny because I just did a chakra dance yesterday with a beautiful friend, and it sort of one thing I found was my throat. I know my throat chakra has been blocked, for a while, but every time I do healing around it, it's like clearing it, because it's about being speaking your truth. Yep. And I had a big clearing around that yesterday, so I just wanted to warn you now.
All right.
You thought I could talk a lot before, but you wait.
You could have warned me earlier. I don't know. Wasn't ready for it. But hey, you know what? I tease you for that. And let's face it, I can talk underwater, so there's no way in the world I can give you any negative on that one. But it's important to talk. It's important to communicate.
It is.
Right? Like it's just when you don't. The old story of like a problem shared is a problem halved, right? And like these old sayings, but they mean something. When you're talking to people, you can feel better about life. You can actually expand who you are.
Oh, absolutely. There's that word again, expand.
Yeah.
And it's all about expansion. As long as we're here and still in this life, we are always expanding and growing. And so if we can do it in a way that's connected with all it is, then things flow better. So life becomes a lot easier, and when you are having a hard day, just think, am I tapped in or tapped out today? Am I actually in the flow?
Oh, yeah.
And connected with this field? And if not, then maybe you just need to go and sit under a tree and meditate for a bit and actually connect in.
Get under a tree. Honestly, it makes such a difference in life, doesn't it? But as I said today, I woke up and I was sore and headache and grumpy, and it just, I didn't want to carry that into the day.
So thankful for that.
Yeah, but I had to make a conscious decision, right? I had to go, am I going to carry this today? Or am I going to, I'm going to get in my car, I'm going to drive to Edge, and am I going to get the hell over it? And guess what? Okay, I told myself to get the hell over it. And that's what you do.
Yeah, right? Exactly. And it's like putting on a suit for the day. Am I going to be in my happy suit or my grumpy suit?
Oh, I do like a good suit. Yeah.
A suit of cards.
No. Well, that is a really good point, as far as also, like I said it before, I get a lot of positive notes, and I also sometimes get negativity about the way I dress, right? But I dress in a way that if I walk into a service station and I'm paying for my fuel, right? And the person behind the counter smiles and has a little laugh or whatever about the fact that I'm wearing a bright shirt, okay? guess what? I'm
That's
happy.
great. You've made
Yep.
made their day,
That's right.
made it happier.
You've just gone out there and you've shared a little happiness, and you can do it
Exactly.
sometimes just through things like that.
Exactly, it is.
And I think if more of us did that, we'd have a better world.
Absolutely. And even just having a big smile and saying hello to people,
Yeah.
you know, acknowledge people, because we're so disconnected from people now with phones and what have you, that just, you know, look at people, acknowledge them and say hello, you know, have a nice day.
Yeah.
And it's really nice.
Yeah. Don't go through the self-checkout. Go to the one person at the end who's actually doing the checkout thing. Say hello to them, right? Have a conversation. Make eye contact with them.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Like, they don't want to be sitting there just buzzing things through and, you know, zip, 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 zip.
Mm.
A little bit of human interaction, it wakes everyone's heart up.
So it's all about connecting again, isn't it?
I think so.
Reconnection with people and with, you know, everything around us, the world around us, because I think especially over the last few years there's been a big movement to disconnect people, separate, you know, whereas now we're coming back into this unity consciousness, which is all about bringing people back in to tap back into that unified field so that we all feel connected and supported by one another. And when we do that, we are so strong.
That's so true. Now, if people want to connect with you,
how
does one do such a thing?
Well, they can connect through, Facebook or my website, or they can call me, and all my details are on my website at soulbirth.com.au.
There you go. See, and how's that wonderful, you know, site going for you? You spent so much time on it. It's like $1 million.
Well, not as much time as I need, really. But anyway, I'm rather connecting with people in reality.
Isn't that so important too? Like, honestly, isn't it better to be out there speaking to people, contacting people, actually being in touch with people than spending your time behind your
so much
laptop?
better. Yes,
completely agree. All right, well, that is the show for today. Thank you very much for being part of it.
Thanks very much.
I hope that you've all felt a united field. Okay.
You can't remember what the topic is.
Well, I can see you've written it down.
I will leave you with a little
if you
quote.
could, please.
May you trust the spaces where you are being called to stretch, soften, or surrender. Expansion is your nature. Birth is your portal. You are never alone in the field. Remember that. You're never alone.
Never alone. Okay, and on that bombshell, it's the end of the show. Thanks for being part of Soulbirth here on Edge Radio Australia.